Hello there folks, and welcome to a brand new playthrough. Today I'm going to be playing through Miru, which is a solo role-playing game, like many of the things I tend to play. I'm the Lone Adventurer. Thank you very much for stumbling your way upon my channel. If you enjoy this video, consider liking it, if you wouldn't mind, and subscribing to my channel if you want to see more adventures just like this one. Miru is a game that I backed on Kickstarter earlier this year. I've got some lovely physical copies winging their way to me very soon, hopefully next month. The Kickstarter was actually for the sequel, I guess you could call it Miru 2, but I was given the option to back Miru, the original game, as well, so I'm getting copies of both. This is the first edition. Now recently, backers were sent digital copies of the original game. The original game comes in a first edition, which is what we've got here, and a second new edition, which the designer, Hino Kodu, Kelly Chance, or their handle, I guess, is Hino Kodu. While they were working on the new game, they made a lot of tweaks and additions and adjustments to the original game, and so there's a lovely new second edition. Now, being a bit of an impatient person, I couldn't really find it in my heart to wait until the physical copies arrived on my doorstep. So I wanted to get cracking, print out something and give it a go. So I figured I would stick with the first edition of the game, and then when I get my lovely new copies I can play Miru 2, and when I've done all that, if I manage that, then I can switch back to Miru 1 and have a go at the second edition. But today I'm going to be doing a playthrough of the first edition. Was that enough waffle? I think that was probably enough waffle, wasn't it? So Miru is an overland hex map exploration game where every day you travel to a new location, find out what the terrain is, you have an event of some kind, you might have to fight something, and as you go through you gradually reveal tidbits about the story and the mystery behind the story. So there's probably a stronger narrative in this game than some of the pencil and paper games that I've played. At least the narrative is more focused. It's not a game where you're sort of making things up yourself as you go. That suits me fine, because sometimes I find that creativity to be quite challenging. So it's kind of cool that what we've got here is a very well thought out story, but it takes the form of an adventure game. We've got a character sheet. On our character sheet we've got health and energy, which we're tracking with dice. I've popped these over here so that I can put the map backwards and forwards on top of my pad here. You start with 1 attack, 1 defense. There are some skills you can learn. I am a little bit confused about the skills, if I'm honest, but I get the impression that maybe information about them is revealed as we play, hopefully. I think I more or less understand them. More or less. And then down here we've got a calendar of the number of days. So the adventure plays out, I guess, over a maximum of 56 days. And it's called the God Event Calendar because this game is set in a future where some kind of artificial intelligence holds some kind of sway over humanity. Humanity is sort of the technological advancement of humanity has slowed, possibly even reversed, I guess, and these borderline omnipresent intelligences are in some way holding sway over our lives. The details of that, I guess, will become clear as we play the game. So I'll read the introduction. It's 21:25. You stand outside of a party up on a hill with a view over the village. You notice your older brother and his friends sneak off down below into a field to mess with a helper F2, a farm bot that shows up at night to supplement the human day labour. You watch them fail to tip it over. After a few shoves, you notice it start to spark blue light from one of its legs. It trips and knocks your brother over. The friends laugh, but knowing everyone is drunk, you start heading that way to make sure he's all right. On your walk over, his friends run past you giggling. You hear one of them joke that your brother is going to be in so much trouble. As you arrive, you see the farm bot sparking and slinking its way into the woods. Your brother still on the ground and a large Buster T7 standing over him. It unfolds its left arm and sparks up into a glowing blue light. You hear the robot say, "Destruction of robotic equipment is prohibited." Your brother drunkenly yells at it and tries to get himself up. The Buster T7 takes this as a threat and pushes its glowing arm into your brother's back and through his stomach. The bot lifts him off the ground and tosses him to the side. It sees you approaching and stares at you. You rush to your brother and immediately start applying pressure to his wound. You yell for help as the Buster T7 sneaks back into the woods. You try to compose yourself, but your face swells up with tears. Your brother does not look good at all. He starts spitting up blood and grabbing your shirt. He manages to say, "They can't be reasoned with." He coughs and winces at the pain of breathing. "We should have killed all the gods way back. No gods. No masters." He coughs and struggles to breathe through the blood. "They can't think for themselves. Don't let them control you." He starts to choke on blood. You tell him to hold the wound and you're going to get help. He nods his head and rolls over into a fetal position and screams. You run back to the party for help, but when you come back, it's too late. The next day, the village holds a funeral for him. You boil with rage every time you hear someone say, "What a freak accident. Robots never do this." You think back to the number of people who have died over the years from robot accidents. As people give you their condolences, you fight back tears and dwell on his last words. No gods, no masters. It comes up over small talk occasionally. Who controls the bots that help us farm? People shrug and say, supposed to be some kind of god. But we never hear from it. The robot helps us. We don't bother them. And everything works out. But it didn't work out for your brother. Or the others in the past. You think about how passive everyone is. They just live with these freak accidents because that's how things are. When you get home from the funeral, you sit on your bed and stare at your backpack. Your brother's last words play on loop in your head. They can't be reasoned with. You have a nightmare that night where you're too weak and helpless to save your brother. You wake up the next morning just before dawn with your body on autopilot. You watch yourself get out of bed, grab your bag and pack it with a few essentials. You trek across town, past the spot where he died and walk towards the woods. You pause just before you cross the tree line and take one last look at the village. You turn around and march forward to do what no one else will. The time of gods is over, and you are going to end it. So there we go, we've got a really intriguing, engaging introduction there, and a really engaging, original idea, which is that this society of ours has some kind of god that is controlling these robots and overseeing our society. We blame this god for our brother's death, and we're going to go out and we're going to try and kill this god. Right, so it says here the win condition is to kill the god. That's how we win. We're going to pick a tile along the bottom edge of the map and draw a forest on it. This is our starting position, and the game begins on the next tile we move to. Okay, so let's just go bang in the middle, I reckon. So I'm going to draw myself a little forest. There we go. So that's our starting tile. Character setup. Set the energy and health to 10. We've done that. We need to add 3 meal bars to our bag. Let's do that quickly. And we've got a little overview of the turn order here. So each day we'll move 1 tile in any direction. We roll for the terrain of that tile, then we roll for events. And then after all that's handled, we need to eat some food or starve, and then camp for the evening before going into the next day. Periodically, as we play, we'll hit these bold days, and these are days with God events. So those are events that are not linked to the terrain that we are going into. They are events that always happen, and I guess will do interesting things to the gameplay, but I have no idea because I've never played before. Right, so we need to decide where we're going to move to. I think I'm just going to stick down the... Actually, I'm not going to stick down the bottom, I'm going to forge ahead. So I'm going to go up here into this hex. We roll 1d6 to determine the terrain, and then 2d6 to see what we discover there. So we've got 4 for the terrain. 4 gives us grassland. So we're going to turn to page 14 and 15. Actually, before we do that, we need to draw some grassland. Okay. And we're going to roll 2d6. Well, we've got a bit of description here for grassland. The fields are lively. Wild flowers and grasses cover the landscape. Butterflies and bees hop from flower to flower. The wind is soft, and the deer are unshaken by your presence. There are small signs that a town was here a century ago, but nature has almost erased it off the map. Sounds quite nice, really, isn't it? Right, so we're going to see what event we get here. 7 gives us ruins. Cool. And then we're going to roll 1d6 to narrow down our ruins event slightly. 6. Wild mushroom trip. Interesting. After walking all morning, you rest under a giant tree. As you sit there and think about how you're going to kill this god, you notice a ring of mushrooms around you. They look just like the mushrooms your brother would eat before a party. You pick a few, brush the dirt off, and chow down. You spend the next 6 hours petting the grass, watching the trees and clouds dancing together, and vibing with the butterflies that touch your soul. The next blank tile you visit triggers the next god event, no matter the day. Crazy. Alright, so some kind of mushroom-related experience has sped up our ability to encounter God. Cool. I'm going to draw a little mushroom circle. So I guess nothing else happens there. That was a fairly chilled out first day. So at the end of the day, once you've explored a tile and have escaped any nasty situations, it's time to rest and set up camp. So we should be eating some food. It says here you must eat at least 1 food per day. So if we have food, we have to eat it. So we're going to do that. If you don't have any food, you lose HP. If we eat a meal bar, which is what we're going to do, you gain 2 HP and 1 HP. So we'll be gaining that. Let's do that first. So we're going to eat a meal bar, taking me down to 2 meal bars. Going to get 2 HP. going up to 12, and 1 energy going up to 11. So health and energy max out at 20, but that's going to be easy to remember since I'm using 20-sided dice to track that. With eating out of the way, we then have to sleep. We are in the wild, so we sleep for free, and we will heal 3 HP and 2 energy points. So that's going to take me up to 15 and 13. So that's day 1 done. So we'll cross off day 1 on the God events calendar. And we're going to move into our next location. So we're going to move up here. And we need to roll to see what kind of terrain we have. But we won't roll for a terrain event because of our lovely mushroom experience, we will be going straight into the first God event. So 2 gives us forest. I've drawn 1 tree, but I'm starting to wonder whether I should always check the event before fully drawing the hex, in case there's some kind of element of the event which I can represent visually, like we did with the mushrooms there, which I had room for just about. So let's find the God events. Okay, so here's our first God event, and it's called The Sleepers. The next tile you visit must be blank. It becomes a forest terrain. Oh, okay, so we probably should have checked this before we established the terrain. Remember that for next time. As you're walking through the woods, you find a glass skyscraper. It towers over the trees by 100 feet. Inside, you walk past the security desk and up a few flights of stairs to floor 5, where you hear a low hum. You take 1 times Sleeper's leather jacket from a clothes rack near the door. Okay, so I've got some kind of nice jacket. I imagine that will be detailed in the equipment list at the back of this booklet. We'll have a look at that in a bit. On this floor are aisles of metal pods with dried up humans in them. They light up as you pass by. The solar battery must still work. Why are these people here? You touch the glass top of an empty pod and it opens up. The inside flashes white light like it's turning on or something. Suddenly, a woman's voice crackles through the ceiling speakers. You look up. Hello, traveller. You've come a long way from home. Will you be staying with us? You feel a sharp sting on the hand you had resting on the pod. Ah, what the You feel your brain become fuzzy and you're no longer in the same place. You're in an empty room overwhelmed with blue light. A woman's voice over a speaker says, "It's been a while since I've seen anyone new. You seem angry. Oh, your brother. He didn't deserve." You wake up with bright red lights flashing in your face. You've fallen halfway into the pod. You yank out a wire that's stuck in your hand and you take a step back. What was that? Was that God? You grab your stuff and start heading out. The ceiling lights start to flicker off and on. The woman over the speaker continues as you make your way out of the building. You can't kill me. You head down the stairs. I'm not the enemy you think I am. As you pass the security desk, you notice one solar-powered taser. You take it. Please don't do anything foolish. You leave the building. You have a wild dream that night about your brother. After getting thrown by the bot, he stands up and has 4 eyes when he looks at you. Right, so I'm just going to write down the solar-powered taser. And let's see if we can find out some details about those items of equipment. Okay, so weapon, solar-powered taser, has +9 attack. A high voltage taser powered by the sun works once per day. +9 attack, that sounds pretty kick-ass. Just going to make a little note here. Right, so that's our solar powered taser. What about our sleeper's leather jacket? +1 defense, a stylish jacket made for the people sleeping in the pods. Pod people. Oh, and look, we can sell it if we want for 2 money. Okay, +1 defense. I'm just going to put a little reminder, which I guess takes our defense up to 2. I'm starting to think that the expectation was that I'd put a dice on here, but I want to keep leaning on it, so I'm not going to do that. I think I'll just write my updated in the corner there like that. And I've just realised we never gave our character a name, and I had already decided what name to give our character, so I'll just write it in now. This god killer, or this would-be god killer, is going to be called Leo. Oh, and I need to draw our glass skyscraper, so I'll just draw that. There we go. Right, so with all that done, I guess our second day is over, which means we're going to have to eat our penultimate meal bar, which is a bit worrying because that means after the following day we're going to start starving unless we find some additional food. And once you start starving, the rate at which you lose your health starts to compound quite quickly. Right, so we're eating from our bag, which is going to get us 2 HP and 1 energy. And then we're going to be sleeping out in the wild, which gets us another 3 HP and 2 EP. Takes us up to our maximum on our HP and 16 on our EP. Okay, so going into day 3, we're going to move into a new tile. Alright, so let's find out the terrain type. 6 gives us swamp. Alright, so I'll just draw the start of a swamp. And let's turn to the swamp page. There's too many bugs. The swamp lands are wet and muggy. The willow trees sway in soft winds as crickets and frogs call for mates. It's absolutely miserable here. Best to leave as soon as you can. Right, let's roll to see what event is happening. 9. 9 gives us an encounter. So this might be our first scrap. 1. Waiting for service. You sit under a gazebo that used to be a tourist attraction for a French restaurant. You were taught that past humans had other people serve them in exchange for survival. As you get lost in thought, a chair goes flying by your head. You turn to see a Buster T7. Angry, you've left your territory. Right, so we are going to encounter our first enemy, and it's a Buster T7. That sounds bad. That sounds like some kind of robot. But luckily we've got our taser, so hopefully we will be able to hold our own. So here's our details on the Buster T7. It's a violent frontline terrorist deterrent built to protect sleepers. So it's got a health of 15. Sounds pretty... God, that's pretty big, isn't it? Oh man, so this is the most difficult to kill. This or the bear. The most difficult to kill enemy in the game. Defense of 3. An escape value of 5. I think that means it's hard to escape. This sounds like a disaster. And it can do up to 8 damage in one go. My goodness. Right, so the enemy attacks first. Enemies always attack first. It's 4. That gives us a damage of 5. Pretty brutal. That's a fifth. Sorry, not a fifth. That's a quarter of my health immediately gone. Then we're going to attack back. So we're going to do a basic attack. My understanding is that I can't use a tech skill until I have learnt that skill. That I haven't done yet. So I haven't learnt any skills, so I cannot use them. However, actually, now that I think about it, there are 3 no training required skills. I can do sprint tech, makes running away easier, lowers enemy escape number by 2, so I could just run away, which isn't necessarily the worst idea. Electric bolts, +2 attack per arrow. Oh, so that's only if you've got a strong bow and the solar powered taser. Oh, and that needs a strong bow and the solar powered taser. Alright, so the only thing I could do in terms of tech skills is improving my ability to run away, which is not a bad idea. So the question is, do I attempt to fight this thing? I mean, it seems fighting the most dangerous enemy that there is when I don't have a whole lot of stuff to my name. Oh, I've just realised I shouldn't have taken off all 5 of those points, because it's attack minus defense equals your damage. So I should have taken off 2, because I've got a defense of 2 at the moment, which means I'm actually on 17. And that has actually emboldened me a little bit, the thought that I've got a bit more health than I thought I did. I might actually have a pop. So I'll use my solar powered taser, which I can use once per day. That's a +9 attack, but the enemy has defense of 3, so that means I'm doing 6 damage to the enemy, which means the enemy is down to 9 HP, I think. So let's have a go at another round of combat and see if I'm lucky. See if that maybe this giant mechanical beast doesn't hurt me too badly, and maybe I can justify continuing in this fight rather than running away. Alright, here we go. This is for the damage caused by the machine. 2. That's good. That means it's doing 3 points of damage. Or it has an attack value of 3. Take away my defense of 2 means it's doing 1 point of damage. Okay. So now I don't have a weapon left. So what happens now? Can I attack? Maybe I can't attack if I haven't got a weapon. Maybe that makes sense. What am I going to do? Punch the machine? Yeah, because it says pick a weapon that you own and aim it at the enemy. This attack always hits. So I don't have a weapon. All I've got is my solar powered taser, which is 1 use per day. Oh, I need to run away, don't I? I should have run away. I didn't think it through. My brain just assumed that there was a sort of like a basic attack that you could do, that you could always do. But I don't think that is actually the case. Then we need to escape. However, to escape, you need to roll 1d6. The result is higher. If the result is higher than the enemy's escape number, you get away. Well, the enemy's escape number is 5. So I'd have to roll a 5 or a 6. Now I could use my action in this combat round to activate the sprint tech skill, which will cost me 2 energy points, taking me down to 14. And that means that next round, if I roll a 3 or more, I manage to successfully escape. So that's what we're going to do. Alright, on to the next round. The enemy is obviously going to attack me again while I'm, I don't know, tying up my laces, doing stretches, getting ready to leg it. 4. So 4 does 5, has an attack value of 5. Minus 2 means they're doing 3. Yeah, I think running away is probably the best thing to do right now. So now we're going to try and run away, and we will have successfully run away on, is it more than a 3 or a 3 or more? Oh, so we've got to roll higher than a 3. 4. Fantastic. So we run away. We successfully leg it. If successful, you pay 2 energy. I have to pay 2 energy as well. 12. And skip the eat and sleep steps. Take minus 2 HP starving damage. Wow. Running away is an expensive thing to do. Okay, well that was day 3. Pretty hardcore. And at least we are still alive, but we've only got 1 meal bar, which obviously I guess I'll eat at the end of day 4. But after that, we've got to hope we start finding some more food. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there for the time being. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the first part of this playthrough. I'll pop a link in the description below through to the itch page where you can purchase this game, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.